everyone, welcome to the 11th Köhler Romantic Etude. I actually forgot to record this one specifically, so this is me from the future recording this. Sorry for the interruption of that in the series. Now, Tantalus is known as quite an evil character from old mythology, so I want you to think of this etude as more dark and more severe than maybe the other etudes in this book. It's obviously in a minor key, it's in the key of D minor, and there's a lot of runs and specific sections that I think could be brought out and emphasized to make this more of a convincing performance. Right off the bat, in this first measure, we start with a D melodic minor scale. This is because the B flat is raised to a B natural, and the C is raised to a C sharp. You'll see in the second measure we actually resort back to a normal D minor scale until the fourth beat, in which we go back to the C sharp. Having these different sounds for different scales I think is quite important. The whole first measure is also a giant crescendo to the second measure. So this top D that we have on the first beat in the second measure is really important. It also has these accent markings that I think you really need to pay attention to throughout this whole etude. Something kind of strange is in the third line, where we turn into a different sort of key. You don't necessarily expect this sound. You have that is very out of the middle of nowhere. And so it's, I think, better to play with a more polite sound when you get to that measure specifically. Whereas in the beginning, we're kind of toughening it out, making the sound a little bit more harsh. Something that's going to be especially challenging to younger players, especially in this etude, is starting in the fourth line. These giant arpeggios that we have going up and down. Something that I really want you to keep in mind here is that the flute is not such a dynamic instrument. It is in the sense that we can do a lot of things on the flute, but when we think that high notes are really high and that low notes are really low, we're going to end up doing a lot of movement in our mouth that's going to make this really hard to do, especially when you go fast. If you're thinking that the low notes are down here and the high notes are up here, obviously that's very sharp, but I'm exaggerating for you, then this is going to be the result. And that's, the pitch is all over the place. There's no homogeneous sound that we, I think, strive for as flute players. So even though it looks like you're going through a lot of different octaves in the flute, I think you actually have to think of this as more narrow and kind of the same. So to do this, I think picking a middle ground sound helps not only with the pitch, but also with getting the notes to speak quite clearly throughout the octaves. What I mean by this is if you were, for example, to sing and play while doing this, most people would be going their singing would be going up in pitch while they're going up, and down in pitch when they're going down. You would think that this is a natural thing to do, but actually, I want you to sing the same pitch while you're going through this. So pick maybe this middle E. And obviously you're going to have to move the pitch a little bit to get the lower notes out, and a little bit higher to get the high notes out. But if you pick one single note and sing through that, you're not going to be doing all of this movement that's going to be making the pitch insane. Another nice, fun part of this etude is when we go through the circle of fifths. If you don't know what I'm talking about, this is going to be measure 17. In case you don't have measure numbers, it's this section. Now, these are quite interesting because we're changing keys every 2 beats. Again, you want to practice this slowly so you can work it up fast, but I think there's a nice little wave effect you can do, and that's kind of shown here with the crescendo decrescendo. We have so you can even legato or emphasize the first note of each bar, because that's going to be the loudest note of each one. And actually, if you follow this, it's going to be so that's interesting in of itself. So I think finding any of these little similarities or sequences, emphasizing that, bringing that out, is going to add a whole nother layer of complexity to your playing. So the last 2 lines, I want you to remember that this is not a race. A lot of people will get really excited by this section at the end, especially because it's a little bit more easy on the fingers to do. I think you can start a little bit slower after this. But you don't want to keep getting faster and faster and faster, or else by the time you get to the end, it's going to be and like what happened. It is exciting, but you cannot let the adrenaline win. Anyways, I hope that these tips really helped you on your journey of learning the Köhler Romantic Etudes. If you are learning any of the other Köhler Romantic Etudes, which I hope you are, please watch the rest of this series. I've recorded every single Köhler Romantic Etude at this point because this is me from the future. If you'd like to study privately with me, I'm currently accepting students on my website. You can go to devynflute.com/lessons or just devynflute.com and book a lesson with me anytime that works for you. So again, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.